Hey, it's been a while. Go Goblin. We miss him. Been too long, right, Eddie? Oof. Did I get a haircut? No. My hair is super long right now. I'll get a haircut soon. Champ, thank you for being the first sub of the day. I appreciate that. I look emo. Are you saying I look like a Kamala voter? Again? Alrighty. Let's see here. Champ, thanks for subbing. Appreciate it. Get that sub counter up. You're our second sub. Hello, Tim. Hello. We're gonna analyze some over the board chess for the first hour. So, please get comfortable. The music's drowning me out. Sorry there, Tim. Just trying to be high energy. You'll get to hear me. We're just waiting for the bogan. Here you go. There we go. That's a resub from Canada. Although recently losing in a sub battle. Welcome back, Thyrendal. Hey, Sammy. We're waiting for Aiden here. We're gonna go over the board game, and then we'll move over to kick. I got a tag on Twitter by Kramnik. Yes, I will catch up very soon. Yes. A lot of people are tagging me, okay? It's tough. It's hard to please everybody. It's hard. Where is Aiden? I am a trusted source, yes. Get in here, the iceberger. Get in here. Otherwise, I'm going to have to speak to the people too much. Hope you had a good weekend. Tomorrow's election night. Obviously, I'll be covering it. Straight from Canada. Hello.
Hello.
Hi, Aiden. Well, welcome and happy, I guess, Tuesday morning to you.
Hello, good morning to you too.
You got your coffee. You're ready to look at some chess?
Coffee and a Danish, yes.
Oh, you can't resist them, eh?
The pastries, they're too good.
Okay. Let's see if you've earned it. We'll take a look at the game. I'm going to invite you here to the classroom.
Yep.
invite has been sent.
Accepted.
And I believe you can now make moves. Both colors. Let's see if this works. Are you having a VB long neck? How do I look semi-emo, Red Room? What's this emo thing? What? Emo? A guy can't roll up on a stream and teach some chess? You got a giggle from Aiden. Well, I think, are you worried I'm going to be taking some of the ladies from you?
What's that?
No. Talking to Red Room, but maybe you too. Like,
Okay.
emo? I'm not emo, Eric. Halloween is over. This is my usual self. I'd like to see how this game goes. Are you
Alright, we had the black pieces. Let's see if I can make a move if it comes up.
Did you make that move?
Yes.
Okay.
Beautiful. Alright, yeah, so I had the black pieces against a... I don't know how old he is. He's like... it's going to be such like a wide age range. Somewhere from like 40s to 60s. It's so hard to tell. But I knew heading into this game, I was like 99% sure that I'd be facing a Joe Barber London.
Yeah, give us some more context. Who are you playing? What is their rating? Was your team the favorite? Just paint a picture for us.
Yeah, so playing an older guy. He's let me look up his rating.
But
I think
is older like
FIDE is-
30 plus? Is that what older is?
I would say 40 plus.
40 plus is older. Okay. Okay.
I guess compared to me being a mid-20s kind of guy, I would say in that sense by comparison. Not necessarily old overall, but yeah.
Okay, okay. I will
Played
be
him
this.
quite a few times before. Yeah, I think he's around. Or he was 1400. I don't know if he's dropped off. 1498 ACF. So might as well call it 1500. Oh yeah, this clip.
Can you have a VB long neck for me? Are you a real Aussie?
I haven't got any VV. I've got some other beers. I've got.
What is he saying? A fair dingham? Oh my! What is this guy saying? Sorry, someone distracted me. Fair dinger, fucking full blown Aussie.
Fair dinkum.
Yeah, fucking dog cunts. Fair dinkum. All right. Aiden, are you gonna have a VB long neck for breakfast?
I'll grab a beer out of the fridge. I haven't got any VB.
Oh no! I'm not pressuring. No. Okay. I'm not gonna be a bad coach. You don't. No. You don't have to. No. Let's work on the chess.
We'll start with the Danish and the coffee and work our way up to the VB.
He doesn't have any VB. Is that more coffee? Okay, thank you. Gonna say hi to Mason there, or no?
Hello, Captain.
Good. He's a fake Aussie. He's from Broken Hill. I just don't know how he's fake.
That's a bit rough.
Did I say something bad?
No, I think you cut out at the moment.
Test.
Hi.
Have you done something there? My mic is very quiet all of a sudden. Yeah, but all of a sudden.
Yeah, even on Discord, I've turned you up to 200%. It's still
Test. Still bad, eh?
It's
No.
getting better.
Yeah,
but-
you
Didn't touch a goddamn thing over there, man. Really? No wires. Sitting right here. Talking the whole time. No contact.
Yeah, but what do you is that's sounding better though, right?
Much better. Oh,
It sounds better now that you stood
When I
up and
stood up?
yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, let me sit down again.
Test. Okay.
Nothing changed.
Okay, we're back. We're back. All right, Aiden, I'm ready to begin the chess. You don't have to have a beer, but some people think you're a fake Aussie. But I'm here to examine your chess, not your liver.
Wait, are we
the thing
watching
is, VB
Aiden
is
chess?
a very bogan beer. It's very like iconic Aussie, but it's very bogan.
Yeah, you're a bogan, so a bogan beer for a bogan bra.
I'm more of a Crown Lager drinker. I think Ozcha will know what that one is.
It's the mic cable.
It's the working, the working lad's beer, right, Aiden?
Well, see, look, even Queen Trap agrees. VB is just
Yeah,
awful.
but he's married with kids. You're from Broken Hill. You don't want to forget where you came from, right?
Eddie, fly in. Fly in. See if those aged limbs can handle this.
Did he say Vegemite in the fridge? Nah, someone's got to investigate that cunt. Fuck me dead. Vegemite in the cupboard. Anyway, chess time. Yes, a d4,
Mm-hmm.
blank pieces. So knight f6. Oh,
Yeah.
now it's got the. Why is this coming up? What is it? Did knight f6 come up?
You like the chains?
Real answer?
Yeah.
No.
You've never been a chains guy yourself,
I
even?
was when I was like 13.
No, not when you're 13. I'm talking about like now.
I was 13.
No,
That tells you anything.
no, that's they're in right now. Accessories are in. Bracelets, chains is like older men.
Chains. Older
Chains, yes.
men that hang out with Dylan.
No, chains are in right now.
Chains are in.
Yes.
Who's wearing chains?
You can find photos. I don't know who. Brad Pitt. Like, who are you looking for?
Brad Pitt can pull off anything.
Drake. I don't know. Like,
Drake?
all the athletes.
Drake.
But who? It's in right now.
13-year-old sensibilities and talking.
I'm
about
not.
Drake.
I'm not a. I don't know. Just they're accessories for men. Accessories,
I think you should accessorize. Should be tasteful.
and it's not like an obnoxious. I don't have an obnoxious
Might be
chain.
the,
Restraint is
refresh,
tasteful.
Chief. The move's not coming up on your end.
I prefer silver over gold. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. I'm going for more. I can't wear gold. I'm not Arab. I'm not Fat Joe or DJ Khaled or whatever. I'm here, Aiden. I see knight f6. Is the board
Yeah.
thing all scuffed? Try moving now.
Alright.
Knight f6. I moved knight f6. Did you see that? Knight c3. I saw that. Okay.
All right.
Guys, let's focus on the chess, please. Yes.
So I went d5, sort of inviting the London.
You were expecting the Jabava London. Your opponent is in their maybe mid 40s. You prepared for them a little bit. All good?
Actually, here we go. We can figure it out. Never mind. Okay, he's a much older than I thought. He is 64. Wow, he looks good for 64. I didn't expect that.
Go him. He might be doing that biohacking stuff to do that.
Yes. So here I played. My prep again was very limited. I was busy with work during the day last week, so my prep consisted of watching a Danya YouTube video where he plays the black pieces against Jobava London, and he reckons he was being like objective, playing the best way to counteract it, even though the Jobava is his opening. But yeah, so I went c5.
Yep.
Very confrontational, I guess, kind of move.
E3.
Yeah, e3, and so here I was kind of like, I only got to watch the video sort of like once. Like I got like maybe 10, 15 minutes in, so I was like, well, now I can't remember because I was more into like I think there was some other lines and other moves that he could have played that I had in my head. So I ended up just kind of shutting it down right away with C4, and I knew that I could never play knight C6 because of knight B5. Or actually, no, it was C5. No, because then there's
Don't
check.
make the C4 move, but like, dude, what were you watching? Like, when have you ever seen someone play C4 as black against the London? Not just that video. Could be Amon, it could be myself. Like, what are you trying to do in the openings? We've even provided you resources to improve your openings. In Danya's video, is this what... Wait, are you still
No,
there?
this wouldn't. Yeah. No, this wouldn't have been what he recommended. No, like I said,
But was your memory capped at 3? You even told me you were gonna prep with it, and it's like you watched like 2 seconds of it. No,
yeah, it could have been better, for sure.
you played C4 in the first tournament that you played that I covered, and I was very unhappy with that move.
Oh, yeah. Was this in the? This is in that game where the guy played like the Cole system or something, Coley system.
Yes,
Yeah.
we've discussed this kind of move before. I was very unhappy with you playing it. You introduce tension, now you release it. You're also inviting your opponent to chip away at it with B3 and potentially capture towards the center. But it's this is very, very poor opening work, especially when you know what your opponent's going to play. Because C4 takes you out of book. It's not like a super fun position to play. But okay, you got your opponent out of theory too. I just don't know how you watched the video and came up with C4 as an idea. I just don't know where the inspiration comes from. You know, like when we generally push pawns in the opening as black and challenge white's center, the reason a move like C4 gets criticized is we release the tension. Now white's pawn on D4 is just doesn't have to worry about a thing. The pieces are secure. The bishop on the diagonal is going to be secure. And it invites this B3 move, which in a lot of cases at some point is annoying. Because if you can't even hold on to the pawn on C4, you kind of wasted a bit of time playing C5, C4 if you can't even maintain some sort of space advantage there.
All right.
You know, like it's just always a committal move. Pawns are a delicate thing. You move a pawn on C5 is like adding tension. Once you go to C4, it no longer can push any further. You give up control over some of the dark squares. And I'm not really sure how much you can gain. I would say though, the B3 ideas are one of the main reasons that people don't play C4 is if you can get in C4 and get A6 and B5 in, there's a bit of logic to gaining space on the queen side there. But usually you can only do that later on in the opening, right? Just want to give a moment to thank some of our subs, such as Airbus Driver, who is viewing from Japan. He's taking a break from one of the specialized hotels to check in. Smucker Wideshaft, Simster, AG, thank you for the subs. Thanks for joining in. In prioritizing moves, I would look for bigger impact moves than C4. Ritzer is also in Japan, an Argentinian weeb. Thank you for the prime. Also recently banned from marbles. Hello, bienvenido. Muchas gracias. Yeah. So,
All right.
a lot of times people like take on D4 and play A6. I've seen Bishop G4 as well. I'm just a little. The fact that you prepared for the game and ended up out of theory after 3 moves, that's where it's just a little I'm a little, you know, surprised surprised by that. So, you know, a common one is here to play a6, and then we go knight c6. You'll notice some similarities to my, maybe even Caro-Kann speedrun, where you try to get your bishop out, knight to c6, rook to c6, pawn to a6, play against the Jobava London knight on c3. So taking on d4 is the main move. Sometimes people go a6 or e6. Usually not knight c6 because you have to be ready for this. Knight b5. And how do you defend c7? You got to go e5, but it's white's got it covered. So, yeah. That leads to why I said like the Jobava London is different than the c3 London. There's a knight on c3. And if you're able to manage that knight, keep it there, in the long run, a knight on c3 isn't particularly good. That's why the Jobava wasn't always really popular, was because if white doesn't have good ideas in the opening and you just have natural development and you just make natural moves. I'm just gonna, here, I'll just make some basic opening moves. You know, if you get in some position like this where nothing fancy is being played, well, white doesn't really have anything exciting. This knight on c3 in particular is not a happy piece because it doesn't have any squares. You'd rather the pawn on c3 so that you don't have to defend d4 long term, and you'd rather your knight somewhere centralized. It's an awkward knight. Knights in front of a pawn like that tend to be awkward. So containing that knight with a move like a6, it's simple but pretty easy to play, and usually black is pretty happy with these kind of positions. Another weakness of c4, as I said. Oh, wow. So I have this position in front of me, young Aiden, and the first game in the database on chess.com playing this position is a game of Andrea Botes. So my question to you now, are you preparing by watching Danya videos, or are you preparing by watching Andrea Botes videos? I'm not making a joke here. This is the top thing in the database. I'm sharing my screen with you right now.
I can see it, yeah. I'm watching Danya videos, but like I said, I had a day of work, so it's 11 hours. I reckon I went straight into the city from work, and it was a matter of just quickly watching the video, like bits of it, 15 minutes before the game. So it didn't have long to marinate in the wrinkles in my brain.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's my reasoning.
Okay. Yep. We'll have to begin the procedure later, but let's get on with the game. Yeah, c4 at your level, Aiden's around 1600, 1700 on a good day. Your opponent's what rating?
1500 ACS.
1500. So okay, opening's not the biggest deal. I'm just trying to talk about the ideas behind moves. I care more about that than you memorizing all the theory, and I just want you to have a bit of a comfortable situation. So I'm not too pleased with c4, but it's not going to cause you to lose a game at your level. Thank you, Casey, New York. All right, let's continue.
All right.
The one thing c4 does, if you guys are wondering, is knight b5 is not in play, because now Aiden can go queen a5 check, and the knight would have to retreat. So there's a smidgen of purpose behind c4.
Yeah, there we go. That's
I wish you told me that.
Yeah, I reckon it would have been a glancing idea in my thought train at the time.
Okay. Thank you, Casey.
I reckon he still just kept playing moves as if it was normal. He didn't react to this by playing something like e4. He just played bishop e2. So I thought I'd get my bishop out. Bishop f5. Knight f3. Yeah, all pretty stock standard. E6. And then he didn't want any pins happening. He went A3.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all pretty standard. I went A6. I just thought, yeah, I mean, there's probably a better move there than A6, but I didn't think it was any harmful either.
Could probably throw a knight c6 first. Knight b5 is not a serious threat, but yeah, e6
Mhm.
isn't too consequential.
Yeah. Castles.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess here I was a little, I don't know. I thought like I could, what's the word? Like sort of get rid of the like dark squared bishop. And I guess a couple of moves afterwards, he was able to really build an outpost around it, which was a bit annoying. Like I didn't want to go bishop e7. There's probably nothing wrong with it. Just seemed a bit passive. So I thought, like, where's the other square I can go is d6 and trade off the dark squared bishops. But just what happened in.
Well, white, you know what white's going to do? They're going to try to put something on e5 and play f4.
Yeah. Yeah, you're like a mind reader, Eric.
No. It's the only. So the other thing you did is you blocked white's light squared bishop, so maybe they want to move their knight so their bishop can go on f3. And the other way of trying to break your pawn chain from f7 to c4, there's b3. There's also some future positions where they try to play e4 at the right time. So a couple of different ideas there.
Yeah. So maybe I could have thought of that a bit more.
Well, if you, I in general, you need to think during your games a bit more. I've mentioned that you're not particularly sharp when it comes to finding moves to your opponent, and that's something to improve because bishop d6, I get what you mean compared to bishop e7, but you need to be able to anticipate your opponent's probably going to take and play knight e5 and f4. So if we want to get a better version of that, I'm probably going to go knight c6 first here, because then if they go knight e5, then I go bishop d6, and they're not in time to play f4. The only way for them to play f4, if we look at this type of position, and let's say they decide to trade everything, A, they don't have a knight on e5, and they go f4 here, it's not as good. They've traded on c6, giving you the b file, and they don't have a piece to put on e5 anyways, so we wouldn't be too fussed about this position, because there's no piece in the middle of the board controlling all the squares. Right? Do you see the difference?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bishop d6 allows everything in one go. I assume you played that poor move, but it just makes a big difference here. We're not able to take. And then it can be annoying dealing with a centralized knight.
Yeah.
It's not game over or anything, but you can get a better version of it just with a little bit of calculation when it comes to move order. Knowing exactly what your opponent's going for. Thanks, Fen. Just knowing what your opponent's going for here. They're going to go, they want to put a knight on e5 and play f4.
Yeah.
Because I don't know where else can they gain space. If you see other ideas, we can take a look at that too. But that looks like the main one to me. And you're not in an immediate rush to castle. You're not under pressure yet, which is why you can go knight c6 first. It's not like, oh, if I don't develop my dark square bishop right in this very minute, I'm not going to get to castle or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I could have. Yeah. Maybe waited a little before deciding where I wanted to put the bishop. But yeah, that is exactly what.
When he says yeah 100 times, somebody has to sip. We've had that 100 yeahs, people have to sip. So
Yeah.
just keep that in mind.
So here as well, I was a little like, yeah, before castling, I was wondering about like G4 was going to come, so maybe I could have played H6 or H5 instead.
Yeah.
Would have been ideal.
You've invested in your light square diagonal by playing c4 and taking away white's ability to put their bishop on d3. So maybe h6 is something to consider, yeah.
Yeah, like I thought about it, like, yeah, again, sort of retrospective thinking when I could have maybe thought about it. I don't know. white happens as much as it does, where I'll play a move that's okay, but then afterwards I'm like, oh, now my opponent has this threat, but why couldn't I see that before? You know,
Yeah,
like
so
it takes me to play the bad move or the average move
mhm.
for it to be a bit more.
Yeah,
I don't know.
your internal checks and balances aren't there yet right now. If you did you castle here?
Yes.
And if you castle and you're anticipating G4, don't castle. We're going to talk about castling. Where you
Mhm.
could have let's talk about chess. You castle here. White plays G4. Where are you putting your bishop?
Probably G6.
White plays F4.
Well then, I'm umming and ahhing between either like playing H6 and knight takes is probably. I was thinking I'd probably have to go bishop E4. If he's played F4, then you can't play F3 to.
Mm-hmm. You play bishop to E4, and then I play G5.
Oh, everything's coming. Uh, yep.
For those tuning in, Rada thinks this up. We're just analyzing what happens if black castles. We have a carefree Bogan here, castling. He already says he's worried about G4. And I'm asking him, what are you going to do if your opponent plays G4, which you've already identified as a move? I'm just asking questions. If you can't imagine like this, you got to work on that.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm
I was
not. I'm talking
thinking
to a chatter, but also talking to you.
Knight FD7.
Mm-hmm. So then I take your bishop on E4. You take back with the D pawn, and then I take
Yeah.
on C4
Oh, Steve, yeah.
and win full pawn with a winning position.
Yeah.
So and I can take with a bishop or with a knight. I'm up a pawn. You're not developed. Your central pawn on E4 is loose. It's on a light square. I have a light squared bishop, a great pawn structure on the dark squares here, and there's no compensation for that pawn. You're just in big trouble here.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't make any hard moves. Like, the moves I'm suggesting are not moves your opponent can't find. Right? G4 I just suggested F4. Most people play F4 when they have a knight on E5.
Yeah, so no, it had to be H6. This was the other one I was thinking about when trying to envision it after bishop G6 and F4.
F4 is not the prettiest move, right? Because after takes, you're left with a few weaknesses. It's better than bishop E4, but
Yep.
it's something that I'm not sure I would enter if I don't have to enter.
Yeah, I think it would be make the king defense a little trickier, especially because I would still have the light squared bishop, and there's a few. Yeah.
I mean, you'd have to do it, but yeah, I'm just saying I would have been pretty concerned by it. But
Yep. So I could have played. Yeah, H6 or H5.
So
or knight C6.
it just means it's why I would have burned more time than usual in the opening, foreseeing a position like that happen and be like, okay, I would like to avoid that. So now knight C6, trying to really fight for that E5 square early is important. It's an important time to invest a little bit more calculation because white's moves, if they come naturally like that, you know, there's a decent chance the opponent's going to play it. If I'm not happy with that position I'm seeing, try to nip it in the butt before it begins to be a serious problem. So, yeah, knight c6 here. Okay.
So F4 was played. We didn't get G4.
Okay. Logical.
Yeah, definitely. Very locked in there, that knight. I went H6 because then I also was still concerned that G4 could still be played.
Yep.
So I wanted to make sure I keep that.
You want to tuck your bishop in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That's always healthy.
So my opponent used a little bit of time here, and he sort of caught me off guard with the move. I wasn't expecting it.
Now, I have a
So-
question for you. You're worried about G4 and you're worried about some stability here, okay? So H6 is an option. What's another move that you can consider here to earn yourself some space and try to also work towards eradicating this knight on E5?
Oh, I'm guessing knight E4, because then it frees up the F6 square to play F6.
Mm-hmm. But how does it free up your light squared bishop as well? Oh, thank you, Czech Manarov.
Light square bishop. Unsure.
Keep thinking. Take as much time as you need. You know, we're fighting for square controls, both sides, you know. Trying to
Yeah,
eventually
well, I
fight
mean,
for
we get the-
E5.
We'd get the E4 square to
To what?
like knight E4.
Knight E4, G4.
Knight takes C3,
Mm-hmm. B takes C3.
and then bishop E4.
Mm-hmm. Is your bishop good on E4?
It's okay. I mean, so otherwise we go back, then they can just take on G6.
So you get the bishop E4 square, and then what else are you preparing?
F6.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that an improvement?
Yeah, it's an improvement, 100%.
Over H6. Because this way you're still doing something about your bishop. When you're playing H6, you're kind of rolling over. You're just, you know, keep finding escape squares. Why not be direct, calculate, centralize your pieces, and prepare to remove that pesky knight?
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, I was just being called 900 FIDE in the chat by these plebs. And
But
pleb
it's understandable. They're asking that right now.
Yeah, no, fair enough.
No, but don't be
Positionally-
distracted by the viewers. Knight E4. This position here, I want to go F6. Then we can free up our knight. We've also traded off pieces. when someone's attacking you, they're kind of committing to the attack. They're making loose moves like f4 and g4. The more pieces that are traded off, generally the better it is for you. Fewer attacking opportunities. On top of that, their best pieces are knight on e5. For the first time, you can actually challenge that knight on e5 with f6, and then just follow up with knight c6. If everything gets traded, well, they even go bishop f3 because this is a good bishop. I don't know what to say. This is a good looking bishop. We can define it because it has open diagonals and it's guarded by a pawn and it can't be harassed by other pawns. So let's say bishop f3 is played. Well, now you can take. Because they take back with anything but the knight. f6 traps the knight. You go like this. Knight c6. Okay. Now if they go knight e5 again, there's no big deal here. So you're kind of accomplishing a couple things instead of just playing h6 and still not really challenging some of the core of the position. I mean, you could even go knight d7 and try to get some position where you get your own knight on e4 and then play f6 yourself and argue, hey, I'm going to have the better knight.
Yeah.
Just you're trading pieces off. You're working towards f6. You're not giving white any dangerous squares near your king. Okay. So that's just an alternative that requires just a teeny bit of calculation to recognize you can take on c3 first. But maybe it makes your life easier because the reason I'm suggesting it now is when you go h6 and then later on you go f6, by playing h6 and f6 combined, you are weakening your g6 square a little bit more. I'd rather almost do it right away and keep my pawn on h7 so that that knight on e5 can't hop around. If you had a pawn on h6 and f6, then that knight could even hop to g6 in some positions. So this way I want to give that knight fewer squares.
Yeah, really restricting it. Okay.
Oh, thank you, Pratik. Yes, calling me professor, and every professor knows sometimes you have challenging students, special cases, and it's a passion to deal with those individuals. Everyone has potential. So yeah, keep going. But yeah, this is like a Kali system or whatever, and the weakness of d4 and e4, d4 and f4, is that the e4 square is weak. So it's only understandable that's the square that you have the most control over. You try to get dominion over it, get a piece on there, because that's the drawback when white goes d4 and f4. They don't have any pawns to attack the e4 square. The e5 square, the knight is on, is supported by d4 and f4, but because you still have the f7 pawn, you have the potential to kick that knight out. You have a more flexible structure, and we want to use that to your advantage. One square at a time. Positionally.
Okay. Makes sense. Yeah, need to work on seeing it at the board. Would be ideal.
So you played h6?
Yes, h6.
You can move it.
And
did you move? Okay, good.
Yeah. So yeah, like I said, this move caught me a bit by surprise. My opponent put a bit of time here into it. So the move was rook f3. Like,
Another.
I'm getting the idea he wants to bring it to the G file and really start putting pressure. Don't know if there's a world where there's maybe.
Well, the more time that you allow the knight to fester on e5 and be a dominant piece, the more likely these attacking moves are going to follow up in white's position. because that's a powerful knight, but it's a temporary knight. White knows that it's not guaranteed to last there forever, but for now it dominates the center, so makes sense.
Yep. I did see a bit of a like with h6 allowing bishop h7. I saw a way to get my other knight into the game in a couple of moves, which is what happened. I thought I'd free up. Like I liked the idea of having it on f5 as well, sort of keeping an eye on some weaker squares, like e3 for example, could be a bit tender. I know the rook's on the third rank defending it now, but just liked having the knight in what I thought was a reasonably aggressive position, and also defending some dark squares. So I went knight c6.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, my opponent didn't want to give up the outpost, so he didn't trade. He kept going with his rook idea, so rook g3. And I guess it was like the battle of ideas, right? Like we both had what we wanted to do in our heads, so I just kept going with mine. I didn't see any threats here, so I went knight e7. And I thought, yep, this knight's at least coming to the king side. It's going to start playing a part in the game.
You'd like to bring it to f5 maybe.
Yeah, that is exactly where I was looking to bring it to. He went, and then he just gave up on the outpost. Very surprisingly, he went knight g4.
That's a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And you were probably relieved to see it.
Oh yeah, I was just thinking which piece do I want to take with, and I wanted to keep the bishop. I liked the diagonal it was on, like keeping a lot of pressure here. So I went knight takes, bishop takes, bishop h7.
Question for you. Keeping the bishop, I understand, but I also wouldn't be worried to keep your bishop on f5. I'm not too worried about my opponent taking on f5 because then you take with a knight with tempo. So I would be pretty attracted to a move like maybe b5 right now just to grab some more space because I don't think my opponent's going to take on f5. Then they're just moving backwards. You take with a knight, you hit e3, you hit g3, and with b5 you introduce ideas of b4 and getting a bit of pressure on the queen side. I'm not saying bishop h7 is bad, just from White's angle, they're not too happy to take on f5. When they're rook lifting, it doesn't go hand in hand with trading everything off and making your job easier where they run out of pieces to attack you with. Then all that time spent rook lifting, if it doesn't lead to any attack, is essentially a loss of time. Because they would have to move their rook to, okay, h3 or f3, and maybe you didn't want that. I was just thinking about b5, b4. I think you did that in the game where you played c4 in July. You actually end up following up with a bit of a queenside push. I'm okay with bishop h7 though, just an alternative idea to consider because, hey, I'm not too angry about getting my knight on f5. In fact, the other deeper idea is actually after b5, taking with the e-pawn looks a little funny. It does, but the idea is the queen is now able to defend horizontally, and it might give you access to the e3 square as a weakness in the long run. So I might go rook d8, rook e8, and eventually put some pressure on the e3 pawn. Because I don't see how White's going to attack here. The f5 pawn covers e4 and g4. Your queen defends the 6th rank, and I just don't see what White's attack would actually look like in a position. Just as an alternative, I don't see the attack, and I do see e3 as maybe a potential target.
Yeah, no, definitely. Looks like that'd be like really trying to defend it.
But you know, it's one of those cases where you're accepting double pawns, but with purpose. It's like, hey, it actually helps my defense easier, and it gives me long-term pressure on e3. But bishop h7 is a reasonable move. You liked your bishop, so
yes.
I just hope you don't block your bishop later on. That's all.
Queen e2. Yeah, you didn't have to wait long, but like I could have maybe thought of somewhere better for the knight. Is the thing.
What about b5?
Yeah, b5 here would have been. Yep.
I'm
really
just
good.
small improving moves if I don't see something really good. b5 means that the c4 pawn will be strong even if white ever tries to destabilize your center with e4. I don't have to worry about c4. I also have the idea of, look, this bishop on h7 targets c2. So if we look at a future where maybe you actually get tension and provoke the b file to open up, all of a sudden you'll have great pressure on b2. If we just look at this position, once your queen gets here, it's a little passive for for white to start defending the b2 manually with like the rooks and stuff. They'll, you'll just continue to put pressure on the b file. So
we got there eventually, but it took longer than I would
that's
have
okay. That's okay. As long as you're managing white's ideas and not you're not being lazy there. There's a few different ways to play it.
Yeah.
You have a good position though. The knight on c3 is not a good piece. I don't see the attack for white. They've invested quite a bit of time into something here that it's not leading into something tangible so far.
So yeah, it would have been better to play it now than when it happened. So I went knight f5, which is a little. I was kind of thinking, you probably could just move the rook. Also taking, like I was happy to. But I don't know. I look at it now in retrospect, and it's not as good because after like takes, then the rook's eyes are like opened to the king, and whereas before that the bishop was being a bit of a nuisance in the way.
That's why I'm just saying, like, while the bishop's there, I'm not even afraid of keeping, your bishop used to be there because it's blocking white's attack. I don't see an attack, but
Yeah.
But I know you don't like being attacked. At the same time, if bishop f5, it's still not that easy. I mean, we could look a little bit where it's like, oh, they go queen h5, they're threatening this. You make a move like king h8, and I don't see the follow up for white. I don't need to encourage white to do this. Maybe that feels unnecessary from your end, but I actually don't fully see how white, even king h7 is possible as maybe a more active way to maybe threaten bishop g6. But I don't see how white's actually breaking through. They would need to reroute their knight. You need to give them a lot of time. And they'd have to probably bring their knight and try to centralize it long way. And so.
Yeah, so this is what happened was bishop takes. Then he brought the other rook over, so rook f1.
Don't call.
And lo and behold,
go ahead. My name's not
Oh, yeah.
Elon. My name's Eric.
Lo and behold, finally played a nice improving move. So he got b5 in there.
Nice.
Eventually. Like you said, I think he wanted to get the knight in. Knight d1, so
Mhm.
to go there. And, oh no, not there. Sorry, no, never mind. I might need more coffee. Oh no, you wanted to bring it over, I guess, to the king side. Definitely not to e5. We can't do that right now. b4 takes, queen takes. Yeah, so I was just thinking, what's he going to do? Because now I'm sort of holding the knight hostage almost to keep an eye on the b2 pawn.
And your king still feels safe. So yeah, you're trying to take over the initiative here. Thanks, Banana Sleeve. 88, big number.
Queen h5.
Mm-hmm.
Opponent was starting to really try and push at least, make something happen.
King h7.
Very calm move. Yep. c3.
So that's a good move in a way. It says, hey, your pawn on c2, they don't have to worry about it. But now the knight on d1 is tethered to the b2 pawn a little bit. So it doesn't fully fix the issue.
Yeah, I should have gone b7. Maybe a little bit too concerned about trying to bring another piece back when there was no need to the king side here. I went e7. Yeah, definitely nowhere near as good. not necessary. Like anywhere on the B file, for the most part, would have been okay.
I mean, I guess the goal, and these moves can be hard to spot, is why. I mean, B7 feels natural to you, or you prefer it because what? It puts pressure here still, and you still have the. You're not very far from, I don't know, going F6, Queen F7. Like, you're still watching over your king side. You're not really far from getting there. But in the meantime, you're keeping that knight on D1 because I don't think white's in a situation to give up the B2 pawn unless they're all in.
Yeah.
So, but Queen E7 is not a bad move. Yeah, you feel Queen B7 is more precise. It's more multi-purpose. I can agree with that.
Yeah, looking at it now, like looking at Queen E7 compared to B7, it just
because if you analyze properly, take away emotion, and you don't see any way for white to attack your king as it is right now, you technically don't need to overprotect it. I mean, if you trust your calculation, you see things. You just don't see anything for white. Yeah, your queen does not need to be right near your king right now. If there's simply nothing, no attack, no attacking moves, you're looking a couple moves ahead. What happens with whatever that could be, and you don't see it. Trust your calculation. Attacking and defending is a bit psychological in chess. Part of that, because you got to sometimes make judgment calls, and through some good calculation, you can probably come up with a pretty good read or feeling here that my bishop's covering things. The queen and rook. There's no tricky moves. They don't have G4. I'm okay, and I can continue my queenside initiative. By the way, guys, I will be switching over to kick momentarily to continue this game review. So if you are enjoying it or you want to see what happens in this Australian battle, I would like to invite you to join me over to kick. Because we stream on both now, but I wanted to start off the day. Hello, Java Bandit. Hello.
Hello, Java Bandit.
So we will continue the discussion there. We have more of the game to review. We'll switch after the next move sequence. Well, I'm gonna switch over to kick.
I wanted to look at Tim's suggestion here. He would like to recommend Queen B3 in this position.
Queen B3 is the normal move, but then the question is Queen B3 versus Queen B7. They're both attacking the B2 pawn, but on B7 you're a little closer to moving towards the king side. Unless Queen, sorry, I called Tim a queen. He is a bit of a queen, but like if Tim wants Queen B3, it's his idea to maybe go Queen C2 and join the bishop on this diagonal while applying pressure, because this would be an indirect way to kind of using the queen as a defender and an attacker by overprotecting and working on this diagonal a bit. So Queen C2 I could see as this square itself isn't that annoying. It keeps this rook a little bit honest, but maybe Queen C2 puts pressure here and we can support our bishop.
Yeah.
There's absolutely moves like this where you can eventually win this and go there. It's just some people might get worried that white's going to go all in, sacrifice this pawn. Black overcommits their queen and bishop to the queen side. And maybe, just maybe, that just some position like this, I could see people getting spooked. Even if there's nothing here, but I could understand, okay, like I didn't want to like go all in, win all these pawns. I thought there might be an attack. There might not be an attack, but...
Well, if you go back, is there a draw? After you go one more? Or like two more moves? If queen takes. Is there rook? No, rook G7?
Can you, continue the line? Rook G7, king takes G7.
Yeah, there's a...
I'm not saying it's silly. You probably have to play knight G4 there.
Yeah, and then we can go after.
Because if you give a check, I can block with a bishop. So I could, I could see someone seeing ghosts or being a little bit worried. I mean, the king should be able to run away, but there's a couple checks here that I could see somebody, being like, I'm not exactly sure, they'd get a little bit concerned. I could see it. I could see why, like, rather not invite this. I'd rather not invite this. just because the queen is so committed and so offside. I'm not saying it works because that's a full rook sacrifice, but it certainly means black is calculating quite a bit more than before, which is why, from a precision perspective, bishop g6 might be played first and then taking here to take away that option,
Yeah.
for example, and then taking here and running the a pawn down. So that might be a way to like limit the damage that that white can do with the queen offside. So it probably does work for black, but it's a little sharper. And black has a big advantage regardless. Different ways of treating that. Queen b7 is super safe. You can run the a pawn, activate your rook. You keep this knight here. You can still slide over, but there might be some more direct ones. They just require more work to pull them off, but that doesn't mean they're not good. Any last minute Twitch Prime subs before we switch over to Kick for part 2?
Yes, I'm sure there are a lot of these political plebs in chat that could do with giving up their prime, for sure.
Okay, so c3 was played. You played queen e7. I'm on Kick more these days, yeah. I have to hide from the Twitch guys.
Your queen e7.
Thank you, Languished Lobster. Thank you, it's AK. Yes, yes. Okay, we earned a couple more moves. Couple more moves on Twitch for those 2 primes. Thank you, thank you.
Queen f3.
Okay, that move you have to be happy to see. Maverick of Atlas, welcome. Happy Monday. We're trying to get better at chess.
Yes.
So there's a really natural move here. I'm not saying it's the best move, but in a bullet game, what would you play here?
Yeah, I mean, you probably put the A rook on the B file.
Yeah,
Or you
exactly.
just- yeah.
Yes, learner. Thank you, Steve G. Rook b8 seems very natural to me, Aiden.
Yeah.
Improving the position, no risk, and I still don't see what white is threatening. So I have paid attention. I simply cannot identify what white's threat is.
Yeah.
Employ the unemployed rook. That's right, Eddie. Everyone in the factory has to work, right, Eddie? That guy on A8's not getting any overtime. No union benefits if he just stays on A8. Let's swing that over. Thank you, Stellar Chess. Just doing some over the board game review. The young Aussie. Youngish Aussie, I guess. He's 25 now. So rook b8 is an automatic move to me. But I have a feeling you didn't play. Thank you once again, Stellar Chess. Give a shout out.
I didn't, no.
And what were you thinking here?
I was happy to keep it where it was and just like look at pushing my pawn I've got there in the A file.
Well, the thing with a rook on b8, as soon as you play it, now the knight on d1 can't move. Now the knight on d1 can't move because losing b2 would be game over almost. Then the rook on f1 has limited mobility too. So a simple move of yours improves your rook and takes away the freedom of a minor piece. From an efficiency perspective, you're just controlling white's pieces. You have a strong grip after rook b8.
Yeah, no, that makes sense, and yeah, definitely something I could have played. I just went with the A5 here instead.
You can always go a5. No one's stopping you from going a5. Just as soon as you go rook b8. I know you want to go a5, a4, a3 to activate your rook, which is nice. That trades everything. But it just, yeah, rook b8 does mean that white can't move their knight. I know you can be like, okay, now white moves their knight, then I go rook b8. So a5 is probably one of the better moves in the position. It's not a bad move. It's a solid move. I would just love the opportunity to tie down one of my opponent's pieces without any investment. Like rook b8 doesn't cause me any harm, and it immediately ties down the knight on d1. So it's just like a quick win to me from which piece is doing more type of thing.
Yeah.
And
This game doesn't go much longer if you feel like swapping or not, by the way, just to give you some
Okay.
heads up,
Okay.
depending on how many moves you want to.
No, we'll save the end for kick. We'll save the end for kick. How much time did you have here?
What move are we? This is what, 20.
I just,
20
you know.
23? 20, yeah, 23. Like probably like 17 minutes.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you guys have
Yeah,
spent a
my
decent
opponent-
amount of time.
Yeah, my opponent probably had about 25 minutes. So even though he's 64, he's definitely pretty quick on the clock. Just happy to
Well,
play
he's playing a system. We have system players here. I see a couple of them in the chat. They like playing moves quickly and knowing what to do in the opening and just hammering out the standard moves in the structure, even if it's bad. There's a bit of false confidence involved. Stonewall players are like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
There, Danger Dolan says maybe rook fb8 because I don't see the rooks doing on f8. That could be considered if you want to keep the other rook on a8. It's bold because it means you really don't believe in white's attack. But if you don't see anything that white's threatening, I can get behind it a bit. It's going, you know, it's trying to maximize if you go rook fb8 and then go a5, a4, a3, because then we're talking about, hey, potentially I can get my rook here, I can get two open files, A and the B for my rooks. Good bishop on f5, everything's good. If there's no attack, you're not worried about it, that would be ambitious and playable. Okay, well, I gave a bit of time for last minute prime subs. We picked up a few. Going on our journey, I appreciate it. I think Amon will be streaming here on Twitch tomorrow before I do election coverage. But I'm going to wrap up the next part of this game on Kick. So feel free to join me for the rest of your Monday night. I'll see you guys in 30 seconds on Kick for the end of this one. But thanks for hanging out so far. Come over to Kick.